Hello everyone, Brad Johnson here, and I'm going to be doing another audio presentation on the topic of living incarnation through causality into beingness. Now, being able to understand the journey of the soul will never be successfully articulated through contemporary language. It is simply because what we are speaking about does not take place on this plane. This plane is simply a formality relating to a greater constraint of experiences that our soul has chosen voluntarily to be a part of. And through this constraint and condensing of reality in this form of experience, we are getting a greater breakthrough of who we truly are when we see ourselves in a greater depth perception. When we place a great deal of walls and restraints around ourselves, we will immediately feel that this is torturous, that this is grand suffering to the greatest degree. And for as long as we remain within those walls and that those restraints continue to bind us, the suffering could truly be immeasurable. But this is truly what the soul itself desires, not because it wants to remain restrained, nor does it want to remain bound to a very dense physical reality, but it wants to set up all of these restraints upon itself so that it can have the moment to savor when those restraints and walls are broken down. That is glorious to the soul. And this is why we decide to incarnate and come onto a planet existing in such a dense physical dimension such as Earth, and that we truly salivate and crave the idea of being a part of a planet that holds so much duality and contains so much restriction and limitation upon ourselves, just because of that one moment, just because of that brief instant where we realize, I've gone through so much. I've had a horrendous family life. I've had a terrifying career, trying to make ends meet and couldn't, barely scraping by the skin of my teeth. That I had a hard time making friends. That I've been hurt and abused by so many. I barely had a shelter. I ended up on the street. I nearly starved. I've injured myself tremendously. I've gone through all of these horrendous chronic conditions. And I felt my body just degrading more and more each day through all of the pure misery and wretchedness that I felt I was going through. Until that moment. And that is where the soul shines. As soon as you say, until that moment, until that instant where I was able to see myself, not through a body, not through emotions or thoughts or anything that I could articulate, but I could see myself as my soul. I could see my light radiating inside me, saying that I chose all of this. I decided to experience all of this until I had that one instant of a breakthrough. And that one breakthrough transformed everything. And my strength to know my soul was so powerful that the walls and binds of reality could not contain me. I threw them all down. I then just knew I was the one causing all of my pain. I was the one causing all of my suffering. I was the one that burned bridges. I was the one that neglected my own feelings and my own good sense about these things. But I don't anymore. And all I want to do is get back into that strength of the soul again. While there is that beautiful light that continues to radiate through me, and all I want to do is return to that again. And I realize now that it's the soft and gentle way to which all walls and all bindings fall off and crumble back into the earth. They all fall off me because it's the analogy of the Chinese finger trap. That we have this binding upon our fingers, and we do everything we can to struggle, to fight, to exert so much energy to try and get this binding off our fingers. And nothing we could do works. We strain ourselves in such a way that we can barely even lift the fingers anymore. But then an idea happens, and I'm just going to rest and give no effort to my fingers. And now I watch the finger trap fall off my fingers as I slip them through. That through the effortlessness of my being, the shackle falls off. This is why the Chinese finger trap could be considered as one of the greatest spiritual tools in existence. Because it tells you the truth. We fight and we claw and we harm ourselves and we resist and we put up so much barriers and boundaries upon ourselves that our incarnation is really just a shackle. But is that really its intention? No. It's to put yourself through so much of this hardship and to put yourself through so much of this restraint that you set yourself up in that precious moment that comes that you never expect to watch yourself completely break through. And the soul shines radiantly just for that. Just for that moment. And we may have spent lifetimes coming upon Earth or other planets wanting to have that breakthrough moment because it may not happen in a certain lifetime. It happens at that point. It's like setting up this maze of dominoes. And we spend lifetimes setting up these little rectangular dominoes intricately. But what about that force that pushes down the first domino? Well, that's the moment that your soul craves for. That's the moment that your soul delights for. That's the moment where you realize all of this strain, all of this pain, all of this restraint, all of this border, all of this boundaries, all of these walls that I've put up upon myself are now tumbling down because I push down that domino. And now that domino is giving an intricate, beautiful visual of all these other dominoes beautifully falling. That's what we live for, everyone. That's what we spend so much time doing, is putting ourselves through a lot of these trying times. We're setting up dominoes. And there's going to come a moment where that first domino is going to get knocked over by your finger. And now all these dominoes fall, and they do it in such a beautiful, gracious way. It shows these beautiful patterns, this beautiful visual that can only happen once. Once it happens, and we see all of these walls falling down, all these pillars of suffering that we've erected ourselves falls down. It's why we've incarnated. It's why we've come here as a newborn baby in the body, choosing the type of parents that we have, being aware of our life circle and everybody in it. People who are our friends, people who are our adversaries, people who are our bullies, people who are our mentors, and so forth. It's all part of the intricate web. Because at some particular point, you're going to knock over that domino. Now, what happens once that domino has been knocked over? What happens when all of those dominoes now start to get knocked over and form this beautiful pattern? You evolve. You change. You transform. And you transform so dramatically that nothing pertaining to the earth plane and everything representing this game interests you anymore. It doesn't. You have seen past the mirage. You have seen past the veils. And all you want to do is meditate. All you want to do is go lighter. All you want to do is feel the true intricacies of eternal life. Because this is how you have opened yourself. Your heart is wide open now. And that's what happened when you knocked over the domino. And all of the other dominoes are knocking down in correspondence to creating these beautiful awakening patterns happening from within you. You don't care about government. You don't care about money. You don't care about materialism, wealth, anything of that nature. You do not see the human side of things. You do not see your biological family just as physical bodies, just as unique mind personalities. You see deeper within your intricate web of being. And you see the ones that are closest to you as souls. You see them as souls. You see that they are eternal, infinite, immortal, just as you are. And the old world tries to grasp at you, tries to tug at you. Come back into the causality of our world. Come back into the linearity. Come back into the intellect. Come back into a separate self-illusion. No thanks. I've already freed myself from the Chinese finger trap. I've already freed myself, and I've knocked over the first domino. And now all the dominoes are falling. I have no interest in your artificial system. I have no interest in your illusions of a magic show. I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in believing that I'm mortal, that I'm just some physical being, that everybody else around me is just some physical being. I don't even see another personality within a person. I just see me. I just see my soul. I just see spirit. Everybody is just a facet of me. But even when I look at myself, I don't even see me as a personality. I just see God. I see the divine spirit in every single one of us. And it's one. And everything that I see representing a different state of opinion is all just the patterns of vibration that are being shown to me as the dominoes continue to fall. That's all I see through people, through their perspectives, through their opinions, through how they perceive reality. They're just intricate webs that are being part of these dominoes that are falling, that are making such a visual masterpiece happen. And I'm orchestrating it all. I'm orchestrating all of these intricate webs, these geometries of bliss. It does not matter if one agrees with me or not. I see it. It's my tapestry unfolding. It's my soul's heart shining through everything that I realize, because all I have dedicated myself is to expand, is to go into bliss, is to go into happiness. Even the causality that I'm a part of is just a part of that web. It's all just part of intricate patterns that have yet to show themselves until I've knocked over the appropriate domino for them to illuminate, so that I can go into the gates and see a greater happening emerge. I see all these things that were once sheltered through the inside of my soul, kept behind these walls because I kept myself behind these walls. It is always so intricate and synergetic. It's synchronous. As I see myself opening up, I see the reality around me opening up. As I see myself going through greater realization, opportunities of great realization that were once hidden now show themselves as plain as day. All of this is intricately designed. It's an intricate web of divine spirit. It's an intricate web of God. It's an intricate web of the Mother, the Father. It's a fireworks display. It's a showing of light and sound. It's a moment where we see the rose blossom for the first time, and its aroma fills the air, just like I am filling the air right now, with my realization of knowing that everything that I have ever done is all intricately set simultaneously to be shown at the right moment when that rose blossoms, when that spark first ignites, when that first firework brightens the sky with its beautiful light and color, when the baby first emerges from the mother's birth canal. It's all these things that are just so intricately woven to give a greater realization of how beautiful the soul is when everything comes together. And I have spent lifetimes to put together all of these pieces of the dominoes. I have restrained so much through the Chinese finger trap, and all I had to do was let go. And now the fingers slip out of the trap, and I take the trap off, and I put it on the table, and I'm in awe. All I had to do to end this struggle was to surrender my fingers. All I had to do in life was to surrender the ego. It was to surrender the fight. It was to surrender the polarity consciousness between the positive and the negative, so that I could see the fireworks, so that I could see the baby being born, so I could see my finger knocking down the first domino. That's all I ever had to do. And now here I am, watching the beautiful tapestry unfolding as I continue to see myself graciously going deeper into bliss and expansion, because that's my religion. It's bliss, it's expansion. It's not Christianity. It's not Catholicism. It's not Judaism. It's not Buddhism. It's not being a Muslim. It's not having any of those institutions, because that's just a part of the web. That's just an intricacy. That's a domino waiting to fall. I cannot plan that beautiful moment that the soul salivates for. It just happens. It's the beauty of the nature of creation. It's the beauty, it's the perfect timing that Divine Spirit has already decided would happen to me at a moment I would never expect. And all I feel now is to go into the expansion, is to go into the bliss, is to watch my human brain ignite with these showerings of synapses firing that brings me into greater awestruck realizations that show me the opening doors of reality so much greater than anything I have ever witnessed before. And that is what I strive for daily. How could anything in this physical world even compare to that? How could me working at a 9-to-5 job ever compare to that? How could me dropping off the kids to school, picking them up again, working like crazy until I'm so exhausted that all I want to do is just go home and rest and then repeat again? That's only a part of the domino being set up. Now when I look at my kids, I see my soul. I see God. When I see my spouse, I see God. When I see my family, I see God. When I see beautiful animals out in nature, I see God. When I see the foliage, the trees, the bushes, vegetation, I see God. When I see a grain of sand, I see God. When I see a drop of morning dew, I see God. When I look at this beautiful planet, I see God. God, God, God. Divine Spirit, Divine Spirit, Divine Spirit. And how can I go into the deeper union with God? The one who set up these intricacies and this web, that at the right moment everything would completely shift. That the sparks would fly, that the dominoes would fall, that the Chinese finger trap would be released from the grips of my fingers. How can I go deeper to God? How can I go to her? What can I do? Well, I know that being in the body and working with the things of the body is not going to work, because that's only a concept of the divine. Well, I know thinking a thought is not going to do it because that's only telling me of things that have happened. And that's all a thought does. It's telling me of what's happened, and it tries to intricately understand everything through the premise of rationality, through the intellect of the mind. So that doesn't work. But my emotions. Well, emotions are just generated expressions of reaction. Yeah, I don't need to have generated expressions of reaction. That's not the way either. So it's not the body, it's not my thoughts, it's not my emotions. Well, heck, it's not even really anything through the mind. Because all the mind is concept. All the mind is construct. All the mind is an object. It's intelligent design. It's not intelligence. And I want to go to intelligence. I want to go beyond what the mind is all about. And how do I do that? How do I get there? And I just think about that, and I take a deep breath and let it out. Hey, wait a minute. That moment when I was taking that deep breath in and out, I felt no thoughts. I felt no emotion. I felt no feeling. I just felt this wave of calm. I felt this wave of stillness just by taking that breath just now. And it was a really refreshing breath. I didn't have any mind clutter. The mind construct was not in that breath. All I did was take a deep breath, and it relaxed me. It refreshed me. It took me somewhere. But it did not take me within mind. It took me beyond it. All I had to do was breathe. And I was there. I was beyond the mind. So that means that if I take this breath and relax, all I'm doing is just being. I'm just being with the breath. It's refreshing me. It's rejuvenating me. It makes me feel at peace. I feel like the inside, the hollow emptiness inside a vase. I feel like the space inside a house that has not been touched by anything material. I feel like that hole inside a donut where there is nothing touching it. And that's how I felt with the breath just now. I felt like I was that emptiness inside that vase, inside that house, inside that donut. Nothing touched me. Nothing interfered. Nothing crossed that emptiness to fill it with space, to fill it with material, because all I'm in now is space. It was the space, it was the emptiness in between that breath brought me into. So that's it. I simply have to be. And when I am being, I leave the mind behind. I leave this world behind because it is through beingness that I can see the creative forces responsible for everything that made creation what it is. Because that's God. God is the creative force. He is the one, she is the one behind all of creation. It is her design. It is his design. Divine Spirit truly is here in the abode of the creative, of the unmanifest. And I want to look into that more. I want to go into beingness, and I want to feel that. I want to know that stillness, that silence, that emptiness, the center of the vase to which God abides. And now I do that all the time. I go into beingness. I do not see an object. I do not see an image. I do not hear a sound. I do not perceive a thought. I do not feel an emotion. There is no concept there. There's just beingness. There's no beginning. There's no end. There's no middle. Yet it is all pervasive throughout all life. This very essence that cannot be described, this unfathomable nature, is all pervading in every single thing that exists. And yet it never has a face. It never has an objectivity. It's eternal. It's infinite. It's immortal. It's unfathomable. It's changeless. Never ending, never beginning, nothing in the middle. It's just present. It's permanence. So this is what it is to be. And I'm able to go there. Well, how is that possible? It's because I am permanence. It's because I am that empty space in the vase. Nothing can touch me there. Nothing can change me. Nothing can burn me. Nothing can soak me. Nothing can poke at me. Nothing can prod at me. Nothing can even convince me to be something else. It's just presence. It's permanence. Forever, eternal, immortal, changeless, permanent self. Well, this is it. This is the true home. This is the true reality. You mean everything that I've been going through in the mind is nothing but material illusion? The idea of that which is not true reality? Because true reality is reality that lasts. The mind is constantly barraged by change. It's always changing, it's always flowing, it's always dynamic, filled with thoughts and filled with emotions, filled with expressions and experiences and perceptions. But not this. No, not permanence. There is no perspective in permanence. There's just permanence. It both is and is not. It is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. This is my salvation. This is my home. This is where I belong. This is truth. This is God, and this is the self. And so everybody, what you are witnessing here is the nature of what truly awaits you. When you understand that everything that you're going through life is just a part of you spinning a web like a spider. And that web has so many connection points. It has these intricate designs that look so beautiful, but when we're going through it, it doesn't look so beautiful. But once that web of the dominoes is completed, there's going to be a moment in your life where you're going to touch the first domino and push it down. And that will be the moment, the very moment that your soul has been waiting for and has invested all of this experiences together in different realms and different dimensions and different realities to all cross-connect so that you could push down that one domino and let the expansion of your bliss begin, so that you therefore see everything past the illusion of mind. You see past Maya. You see past everything impermanent. And you are now in the permanence. You are now in perfection. And that is the very reason why your soul has gone through everything that it has. To watch the maze of dominoes, each and every single one of them fall, so that moment of blossoming yourself, to return home to God and to the self of God, could be done by you. And it starts with beingness. Thank you very much for checking out the New Earth Teachings YouTube channel. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And you can check out the websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can order a private session, 3 questions by email, EQ method, and a lot more. And you can also check out healingcodecards.com, where you can grab your mind deck, your body deck, and of course the brand new Body Deck Special Edition. All of these are available in digital editions as well. And you can also get a shirt just like this through healingcodeshop.com, where you can experience the healing codes in apparel form. So feel free to check out these websites. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again in the next video. Be well.